Hi, it's Michael Dean here with Hidden Beats, and today we're so happy to be joined by Jeremy Fisher for the new project, Jeremy and Jazzy. Jeremy, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very good. So first thing I want to talk about, so for those who don't know, Jeremy Fisher, you've been a musician for quite a while, very established career. What and in 2018 you released Highway to Spells, Jeremy Fisher Jr. What prompted the creation of that, I guess, like alter ego or side project?
Well, I had my first daughter in 2016, and I took some time off to look after her. And I was a new dad, and I didn't really know how to look after kids. Never been a babysitter before. I had been a camp counselor, so my go-to entertainment was to pick up the guitar and like sing campfire songs and stuff. So I would entertain her like that. And then I just started writing these little songs. Like the first one I wrote was a song called Turtle and Guy about a friend of mine I'd grown up with named Turtle. And I was just being silly. I said, hey, imagine if he had a pet turtle named Guy. There'd be a guy named Turtle, a turtle named Guy. 10 minutes later, we had the song, and I just made a bunch of those. And so I recorded it, as you say, like as a little side project while I was looking after my daughter. Um, and then I put it out, and it just sort of snowballed from there.
So you were just kind of experimenting with songs for your daughter and kind of steamrolled and thought, hey, like let's kind of run with this.
Exactly. Like it was really fun. They were fun and kind of funny songs. It was like I was just writing about my life, right? Like, and it sort of happened at a time when I was experiencing a bit of writer's block with the other stuff I was trying to work on. And I realized that that's just where I was at. And so I went with it, and I wrote like tons of these songs. They were just like, every week I was coming up with something new. It was exciting.
I'm glad you mentioned the enjoyment of recording them because I mean, as a fan of Jeremy Fisher and as a parent myself, I was excited when Jeremy Fisher Jr. came out, so I got the album. Took my son to see his show, his first concert. I was very excited about.
Oh, right on.
And I find you can hear that you are enjoying yourself when you're listening to to the music. And I find that it's one thing that as a listener, it sets it apart in some ways from some other children's entertainment. It's like, oh, like you can tell he's having fun playing this, and they're fun
I'm
songs.
so happy to hear you say that because it's absolutely true. And I don't think I could still be doing it right now in this capacity if it wasn't truly enjoyable, And it's we having a kid, you may have found this, like I started listening to a lot of music that I listened to as a kid again, and the stuff that's really good that stands out, like the Raffi stuff and the Fred Penner and some of that Sharon Lois and Bram stuff. It's like that's I would say the same thing about all those performers. And I really thought, like something you didn't notice the first time around as a kid listening, but as a parent you totally do. And so that's where I took my inspiration from. And I thought, well, as long as it feels like this and it feels like I'm being my authentic self, let's do it.
And I know it wasn't too long after Highway to Spell came out that you started making some statements that there was plans for something bigger in the works. I'm guessing that's what eventually came out to be Jeremy and Jazzy. And
Yes.
I would love to know, how did that process go? You go from putting out an album of like a bit of writer's block, new dad, to have some ideas to now, like following in the footsteps of the Elephant Show, Fred Penner. Now Jeremy Fisher is on CBC. Like that's got to be pretty cool. And what is the journey to get to there?
Well, yeah, it is. I'm going to try and tell this in the Cole's Notes version. Um, Well, so yeah, I put out this side project album that slowly snowballed and became not such a side project. Like I started reconnecting with my listeners who had also become parents like me, those of us who like don't go out after 8 at night and would come to these afternoon shows. And all of a sudden I saw, people in my audience that I just hadn't seen in 5, 10 years. And so I felt really connected again to people to the people I'd been playing music for, 10 years, 15 years prior. And so I just got excited about it. And we had a little bit of, we'd applied for a grant and got some money to make uh, some videos. So I thought, well, what if I I know some people in television. So what if I meet with them and just ask them some questions about how do you make something that could be broadcast one day as like what they call interstitial, short little videos that go in between longer shows. It's just like really out on kind of a fishing expedition, just trying to figure out what more I could do with this. And I met my partner, Virginia Thompson of Verite Films, through my good friend Craig Northey, who's in the band The Odds, and he does the music for Corner Gas and Corner Gas Animated. He said, you should meet this producer. She's a total mensch, and I think you guys will hit it off. So we met here at the Ottawa Animation Festival for breakfast, hit it off, and I was asking her about like how do I make better music videos, and I gave her a copy of the record, and she said, I want to turn this into a show. I think there's a lot of story here, and it's fun and it's funny, and she's got three kids who are grown up now, but as a parent she connected with it. And yeah, that was 4 years ago, almost to this day exactly. And we went through this period of development, decided it was going to be fully animated. We got some funding, we wrote stories, I wrote more songs, we worked with illustrators. And anyway, fast forward through a long period of development, to we started pitching the show, and one of the first places we went is CBC, because they've been big supporters of me on the music side for a long time. And we just kept sending them stuff, and it worked out. And it's funny, like I would have, in my wildest dreams, I would have wanted a show on CBC, but that was not what I thought was going to happen. Try to be a pragmatic, realistic person, and it's pretty. I feel kind of like I got to pinch myself to be here 4 years later, 4 long years later. Lots happened in between. Got another kid, and have a show, Jeremy and Jazzy, on CBC Kids, and it's going great, and it feels great.
It's been awesome, so awesome to see. And one thing I love is with Jeremy and Jazzy, with the new character Jazzy. So how is that process? So it's working with Asa, the wonderful singer that plays Jazzy. Is she involved at all with the creative, or are you writing everything? And okay, I need you to sing this part.
Well, it's they're all the songs are songs that I've written. We tried to do a little bit of collaboration, or we want to do some musical collaboration, because she is a great songwriter, but she's also a very busy person and a busy actor and stuff. And we haven't gotten it together, but it's been, I met her through my manager, who's also one of the creators of the show. And we were trying to make a show for Jeremy Fisher Jr. And in the development stage, it was like the comedy and what we were trying to get across wasn't totally working, because I had no real other characters and no other voiced characters to bounce it off of. So we came up with this sort of like small part for an idea, and he said, I met she just won the Slate. I'm not gonna remember what it was, but he'd seen her at an event that she won an award for, and he said she's amazing. She's a voice actor, singer, dancer. Like, she can do it all. So we sent her a little thing, said, hey, do you want to read for this? She said, sure. She sent it back, and it was like, it changed everything. It changed the way that I wanted to approach the music. And we wrote, so that's once we heard her audition, that was the beginning of like making it her a main part. And we thought, if she's into this would be an awesome collaboration. So from there, yes, it's been very collaborative, figuring out how the two voices work together. And I started writing songs that were Jeremy and Jazzy songs, not just Jeremy Fisher Jr. And so we've done, I mean, she is the person, Asa Nibiar Kure is her name. She is the person I've collaborated with the most at this point now in my career. We've sung 55 songs together. We've done all our sessions over Zoom. Her partner is a recording engineer and producer, so it's like perfect. And Yeah, she's brought a huge influence. I mean, she's also a consulting producer on the show. She because she's got this background in voice acting, and um she's got a great attention to detail. She's been really instrumental in the voice directing of it. And anyway, so yeah, it has been a creative collaboration, and hopefully we are going to collaborate on some actual songwriting in the future, and who knows what else. But that's how it happened, and that's how it's worked so far.
She does bring a really cool dynamic to the character, and it fills out the dynamic of the show very well. And it must be helpful to have someone with a bit more voice acting experience when you're getting this up and rolling. So she can maybe has she given you any tips or pointers of like, hey, when we're recording, like the dialogue parts?
Oh yeah, she's like corrected my I've got a song that's in French and English. She speaks French fluently, so she's like corrected my lyrics. She definitely like I've always done, once I heard her read through all the parts and we adjusted the scripts for her, I actually went back and re-recorded all my voiceover in the Jeremy and Jazzy adventure. That we have two 11-minute episodes that are like more fleshed out stories. I went and re-recorded all mine because I sounded like, after she read hers, it sounded like I was saying like, "Hello, welcome to Jeremy and Jazz." Like it sounded totally monotone, and so yeah, she's been a really big influence on me in terms of like learning the craft of voice over and voice acting, and to be myself, like to put, it's like there is something to it rather than just reading with my own voice. So yeah, there's been a lot of, and I would say that like more than anything, she's just brought of youthful energy to it, and I think that's what attracted me to her at first and made me really want to push for her being a main character. Was um I want Jeremy as a character. I sort of see him and maybe myself as this sort of like, you know uh rooted in more like traditional songwriting, the acoustic guitar, the folk singing, singer songwritery kind of person. And then Jazzy, to me, and that voice that she's given Jazzy, is the sort of like, let's push and let's make it bigger and let's make it more modern and more adventurous. And that's where I feel like between the two characters there's this kind of push and pull, which is where we saw the scope of the sound change. Like we don't just do folk music now, we do everything from R&B, soul, like old school vocal jazz, 80s hip hop, 90s hip hop. Like it's a little bit of everything, and that's something that just wouldn't have happened if it was just Jeremy Fisher Jr.
And this is one thing I really noticed. Being a fan of your whole catalog, that Jeremy and Jazzy really explores a lot of dynamics not seen on any of your other records. Was that a fun experience? Like, oh, adult Jeremy Fisher may not be able to do a funk album, but Jeremy and Jazzy, I can do some funk songs. I can do like some real like swing jazz and play or really play around with different styles. Is that like a kind of perk to the Jeremy Jazzy?
It is my favorite thing about this kind of work in music. I mean, I've been writing for TV. I've written a couple of Disney themes and for commercials and stuff. And one of the things I love about that is that I step outside of, what the parameters I see are for Jeremy Fisher, which is to speak oddly about myself in first person or third person, but it is like, there's a vibe there, and they're pretty wide parameters. I've done a wide diversity of styles, but I don't think you will ever hear a rap song, like you'll never hear like Run DMC inspired hip hop on a Jeremy Fisher record, because I think that would be a little outside of that scope and just wouldn't feel authentic. But for Jeremy and Jazzy, I mean, I got into rock and roll via Run DMC. Like I started listening to Run DMC and Beastie Boys when I was in middle school, developing my own musical taste, and it was through those records that I found Led Zeppelin from Beastie Boys samples. I found Aerosmith from Run DMC samples, and so it's so fun to go and indulge that part of my music history and my influences that, as you say, I couldn't really do on a Jeremy Fisher record. I couldn't get away with it. So it's super fun to just get like the sky's the limit. We can literally do any style and hopefully we'll explore, as many as possible.
Yeah, it's a wide open sandbox.
Yeah.
Uh, and you've also had like through your Saturday morning sing-alongs, through your Facebook and YouTube pages, you've had a lot of guest stars on, I guess that you've met through your career in music. And I saw Joel Plaskett animated on the show. Uh, what's the reaction been amongst like your other musician friends to Jeremy and Jazzy, and what was it like to get some of them to come join you?
It was really fun. Joel has been on board with this project. In fact, Joel, since the beginning, his sister, he produced a kids record for his sister who had a kid around the same time I had my first kid, who has the same first name as my kid. And so he was like, when I started doing this, he was like, "Hey, I'm doing this record with my sister. Isn't that cool?" And then when I started doing the show, I said, "I would love for you to guest star in this episode." And he wrote a nice letter when we did our first grant application, kind of supporting the project. And then Misha Bruger Gossman is a friend of mine I met her when I first moved to Ottawa. She was living here. And then, yeah, when we were doing the Saturday morning special, and nobody was going anywhere, I just started emailing all my friends saying, "Hey, I do this thing Saturday mornings and we're raising money for music counts. Do you want to come, like, just come on and sing a song with me?" And I think pretty much everybody I asked, from, the Unicorn Family Band, which is Evan and Amy from Stars, to White Horse, Fred Penner, Ed Robertson, Danny Michelle, uh, Jim Cuddy, like Joe Barber, Tara Lightfoot, like Alex Cuba was a great one. Like, so many people came on and lent their talents to it, and I think that is, that has become an obvious theme in Jeremy and Jazzy, is collaboration and the creation, song creation, friendship, collaboration. And that's been a really wonderful thing about everything to do with this project, is it's brought other amazing people into my life, and I'm very grateful for that.
And it's fun to see artists come together. Like as a fan, it's always fun to see like, oh my God, like Jim Cuddy's on this weekend, and to see like other musicians like hopping on and supporting is always fun to see. So I was curious, is there anyone that said yes that kind of surprised you that like that they took the time to like, oh, I wasn't expecting so and so to sign up.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, Fred was one. Jim was another, because like I know Jim pretty well, but I also know he's a very very busy person with like one of the most successful bands in Canada, as well as a successful solo career and a family of his own. And he really, like, I'll tell you one thing that surprised me about Jim. So like I asked him to uh to just sing a song to his phone. I was like, "Jim, whatever, it doesn't have to be, just if you have time, just make it easy for yourself." Well, he went into the Blue Rodeo studio, the Woodshed. He brought Miranda Mulholland to play some fiddle with him, and like had an engineer. Like, it was just like, it was like studio sound. Like he gave me just for asking, just being a nice guy, like he gave me this fully produced video of one of his biggest hit songs to put on my little broadcast. So yeah, those were it was really like, and I would say everybody stepped up. Everybody cared really deeply about, making sure it was good and the lighting was good. And so that was surprising to me, because I thought we're all busy and it's going to be hard to, just get people to, and also everybody was inundated with requests for playing these live streams and do it. That's all musicians were doing back in those early months of the pandemic. So anyway, it was surprising that everybody cared so much, but that's what made it really special, I think.
That was really cool. And one thing I'm curious to ask about, because anyway, for those that don't know, you play pretty much every instrument there is. Is there an instrument? What is your favorite instrument to play other than just the
Whoa.
guitar?
You know, I go through phases. So a couple of years ago, I really got into the mandolin and learning fiddle tunes on the mandolin. I really enjoy that. Bass was big with me last year. Like, I bought a little ukulele bass so I could play in my house. It just hangs on my living room wall, and it's a little acoustic, the size of a ukulele, but it's got big fat bass strings on it. Um, so I'm gonna say it probably is bass right now. But my current project um is I'll show you here the us working with samplers. So here's a little MPC1 sampler, and here's another little OP. So I'm making a bunch of samples these days, and um that's kind of taking over my life because I'm realizing that these instruments are so deep. You kind of have to like. It seems like they are just triggering sounds, but there's so much you can do with them. So it's a toss up between getting into these samplers, creating samples, and then a good old fashioned electric bass guitar.
I'm excited to see what's going to come out of that sample machine. Uh, you've also you've done a lot of concerts for Jeremy Fisher Jr. Uh, what are what's the what are some of the funniest stories you've had performing for children? You must have had some interesting crowds playing for those
Yeah,
shows.
yeah, totally. Well, you know, it's I did in addition to playing like the great thing about playing for kids is they're just so honest and you can tell the moment that you've lost the crowd because either they just like will like start like tracing their finger around the outline of a rug or something like that or just talking to each other or they'll get up and walk away, which is really refreshing. It helps. It's in those early days of doing the junior shows. It really helped me adjust my set list and figure out how to keep kids engaged for half an hour, 45 minutes. But the funniest things have been, you know, uh, doing virtual shows over the pandemic and getting a window into classrooms. Like just literally going, they've got the camera on me and just seeing it's like it's almost like watching a parade because like they they know I can see them and stuff, but it's just usually it's on mute, so it's like this sort of like mime routine of like what's going on in that back corner and what's like. So anyway, hilarious, like awesome dance parties and um yeah, it's trying to think of like a good example of you get like you'll see a kid that's like not paying attention at all, right? And then at the very end of the thing they come up and it's this like immaculately drawn picture of me in my studio with like and it's so stuff like that. It's yeah, it's never with kids. It's never like business as usual. There's always something surprising that happens, and it's always like very joyful.
Never a dull moment with the kid
Mm-hmm.
audience.
Yeah.
So what so we have Jeremy and Jazzy. Are there any future plans now that we have the I guess first season, I guess we'll call it being released. Has there been any commitment for going forward or next plans for what's going to happen?
We got right now on CBC Gem there are 26 2-minute shorts as well as an 11-minute episode based on my song Turtle and Guy. And then next year we release season 2, which is 28 more shorts and another 11-minute episode. And that'll also be on CBC Gem and CBC Kids. There's going to be a little Christmas special. We've got a book coming out in the winter, late fall, based on the Turtle and Guy story. And oh man, I've got so much stuff in the works, but I guess I better leave it there. That's a lot to throw on the table. So yeah, but by next year there'll be the next season, and we got a book coming out for Turtle and Guy.
And are there any plans to take Jeremy and Jazzy on the road or take Jeremy Fisher Jr. back out on the road?
Yep, I'm starting to book. I've got a show. I don't think it's announced yet, but starting in the new year, there's some tour dates coming in. I'm hoping some school visits, and I should say, if you're a teacher or a parent who is involved with your school, by all means, reach out to me. If I do school shows and workshops for mainly from JK to grade 6, but I do all grades. So we're going to be doing that, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person. I'm definitely doing that kind of stuff again.
And I know you're Ottawa based, Hidden Beats Ottawa based as well, and I know I will be there for any shows, and we would love to help with in any way possible to help Jeremy Jazzy get out there and Jeremy Fisher Jr. Whatever iteration is going out, we would love to be there for it. So I'm really
Amazing.
looking forward to that coming out.
Well, thank you.
And you've written so many of these songs. Is there, and Turtle Guy is my favorite song, but is there a Jeremy and Jazzy song that you like love playing, like you never get tired of playing?
I really, yeah, there's a song that I've been working on with my sampler and my loop pedal. It's called Love Makes the World Go Round. It's on the Say Hello album that's out, that's soundtrack to the first season of Jeremy and Jazzy. And it's got a sung chorus and it's got rapped verses. And like I was saying, like, for me getting to rap has been like such a it feels like I'm getting away with something because I am anything but a rapper. So anyway, that's one of my favorite ones to play. So I've been working. I'm working on making the live show into these. I want to maintain the sing along aspect of it. So it's going to be me and my guitar. I'll be like Jeremy Fisher presents the song, the music, the songs of Jeremy and Jazzy. But I want to build up these loops and kind of like show the audience how it's made and talk more about music education and stuff. So anyway, Love Makes the World Go Round is one of my favorites. But my kids' favorite and the like family favorite that we put on at dance parties is called the Funky Freeze Dance.
Nice. And you mentioned at the beginning that you did have I guess your closest background to childcare was as a camp counselor, and I guess I'm guessing you drew some inspiration from camp counselor songs when this was starting.
Totally. Yeah. In fact, one of the songs on my Highway to Spell album is a song called Peanut Butter Sandwiches. It's written by my friend Paul Stock. And that was a song that I learned at summer camp growing up. So yeah, that was a huge part of informing the sound and the direction that all this would go in. It
And that's
and what I will say about that is like the way I've come up with this kind of formula for a Jeremy and Jazzy song, and that is that the main thing is you got to be able to sing along by the next time the chorus comes, the first time you hear it. So and that's the campfire thing, right? That's the summer camp. Like it's all about singing along. So don't make it complex, just make it meaningful, make it memorable, make it catchy.
and interesting you bring up peanut butter sandwiches. Since we are getting close to the end of our time with you today, it's a very serious question regarding sandwiches. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, hot dog could be a sandwich, of course. Yes, and I think anything you hold in your hand is a sandwich. Hot dog, taco, po' boy, pita, gyro, shawarma. It's all sandwiches, man.
The sandwich should not be tightly confined. The can be anything.
A
You can have ice
sandwich
cream
can be
sandwiches and hot dog sandwiches.
anything. That's right.
What is one question or what is one topic that you feel you don't get a chance to talk about enough and that doesn't come up in conversations like this?
Um, well, I feel like I've just talked about myself for half an hour here, so it's hard for me to think of something that I don't get to talk about enough. Um, I honestly don't. I don't. You've pretty much mined the contents of my brain. This is all I think about. This is all I do every day.
We've scooped it all out.
Yeah.
All right, well, for everyone that wants to check it out, jeremyandjazzy.com, CBC Gem, CBC Kids, YouTube, Facebook. Keep an eye out in the new year for concerts coming to town. Jeremy, thank you so much for your time today. I'm a fan, my children are fans. Thank you so much for putting this music out there, for putting these positive, happy messages out for everyone to enjoy.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.